Hey YouTube, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tan. If you're new, what's up noob? Today we are going to finish this guy. I know it took a while, I do apologize, but hey, here we are. If you missed part 1 of this tattoo, the link to that video will be in the description. If you missed it, I recommend that you go check that one out before you continue with this one. We will be needing ink cups, Vaseline, ink, robot dong. Today we are using the XNet Flux. This machine is running a 4.0 stroke. Most of my shading will be done from 5 through 6 volts. We'll need a 1209 round mag and a 1203 round liner. Lastly, paper towels. Let's get started. Okay, so our gray wash mix. First cup, 100% black. 100% black or whatever color you used in the previous video. Second cup, 50% black or whatever color you decided to use in the first video. Third cup, 1 or 2 droplets of black or whatever color you decided to use in the first video, and top it off with witch hazel or distilled water. In my case, it's witch hazel. Okay, so let's get started with the 9 mag, and we're gonna use the lightest tone. The machine is running at 5 volts right now, and rather than telling you the name of the technique, I'm gonna explain what I'm doing because I feel that'd be more useful. So we're gonna go in a back and forth motion. Very light pressure, and the best way to describe it is, I don't know if have you ever kind of picture yourself sweeping a glass floor with a broom, and you're trying not to scratch the floor. Basically, you know what I mean. Like you're very gently sweeping across the skin with the needle. So you're making sure the needle touches the skin, but at the same time you don't want to drag or stab the needle into the skin. So very light pressure. And this is called building tones. You want to keep a consistent hand speed and a consistent direction. So you pick a direction and you go with it all the way across. This is so you can get an even tone. Because should you change the direction, you're gonna get a darker tone. You're gonna get darker tones in the mix, and that's not the look that I'm trying to go for yet. Right now I just want to get even saturation all the way across, and you will see how it will kind of build a kind of even saturation. Now notice how I'm picking the direction and I'm taking it all the way through, and I'm trying to keep a similar hand speed. Now the ideal way to do this would have been to go in the opposite direction, but then that would have messed with the camera angle. So that's why I'm doing these super short strokes. And again, we're still using we're gonna use the same light tone throughout for all the scales. And as you can see, it is a very consistent tone. You know what I mean? It might not be super solid and saturated, but it is very consistent, and that's what we're looking for, consistency. And on skin, this is the same. I use this technique on skin. The same way you're seeing it on fake skin is the same way I use it on skin. And sorry about the audio, guys. I thought I was recording audio. Right now this is a voiceover, but you will later on in the clip, you will hear the machine running. You will hear how it sounds when it hits, all that good jazz. Yeah, let's press on. So this being the finger that I want to show in the very far background, I went ahead and I dipped into the medium cup, and you're going to see how I'm going to change the direction in a little bit. Not so much right now, but as you can tell, I'm putting in the darker tone over this finger, and again I'm using this scratching technique or this sweeping technique this light pressure technique so that I can still you can get skin breaks through the tattoo. You don't get solid saturation because that's not what we're looking for. We're not trying to do a solid saturation. And here I'm going to go in the other direction, and you're going to notice, and again using the same tone, you're going to notice how it gets darker, noticeably darker. And also notice how I go in slow and come out fast, go in slow, come out fast, go in slow, come out fast. So I'm whipping the needle, if you will. And this is gonna give us a nice gradient effect. And you can see here how it actually darkened up the finger a bit, and I'm pretty pleased with this. I think I might move on. I might even out the tones afterwards, because you don't want to darken something up too much and then, you know, not be able to compensate for the rest of the tattoo. You know what I mean? So you want to kind of set in your base tones. You normally, I would say, always start off with your darkest tones, but this being a how-to video, I don't think it'll benefit you if I just start showing you, you know, apply your darkest tones. That's not the point of this video. The point of this video is how to shade, not how to make your tattoos look dynamic. But that is something that you need to keep in mind. You want to keep in mind on the contrast. You know what I mean? You don't want to darken your tattoo up too early and then you're fucked. And the reason I'm putting this darker tone here is because this finger is behind another finger. So that's the reason why I'm darkening up this area. And you see how I'm changing the direction of the needle? Yeah, that's so that I can get a darker tone using the same tone. Because I'm putting, it's like cross hatching basically. Not using extra pressure, nothing like that. Just changing the direction, and that will give you a darker tone. Also, I want to apologize for the angle, or the just like the picture. I have my camera set to autofocus, but I catch it later in the video, and I take off the autofocus and I turn on the mic. So as you can see here, it actually darkened up the tattoo quite a bit, and just by changing the direction. And remember, we are building tones. That's what we're doing here, and we're being super patient. Tattoos take a while, and good tattoos will not be short. They will, obviously you'll get better over time, but for the most part, your shading will get smoother. It will get better. You will get faster at it, but you're going to have to increase your voltage to compensate for your faster hand movement. But again, certain voltages will give you different effects, and this is what we're trying to go for. You know, I'm trying to go for a darkened finger with very little light leakage to show that this finger is in the background. Okay, so here you're probably saying, dude, your light source just makes no sense. I understand that 100%, trust me. But the reason I'm doing this is just so that I can show you, like, so you can have actual footage, or the most footage available to you on how the needle is moving, what happens when you change the direction of the needle. You know, all that good jazz. I want you guys to see that because it's going to help you. So this little thing right here, this is the back part of the very the finger furthest from the foreground. So I'm gonna darken this guy up a lot, and I'm using straight black on this one. And as you can tell, like, you can just tell it's like really dark, you know, with very little effort. But again, I'm not using any kind of pressure. I'm simply sweeping the skin. Just sweep it up. I'm going to time lapse this a little bit further out into where there's sound, because the angle isn't too great here. So I'm going to do that now. And you might notice here it starts to look like I'm going in circles. I'm really not. It's just like the time lapse makes it look like I'm going in circles, but I'm not. I'm actually just sweeping back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. One thing I want to show you guys is, do you see how the needle comes in and out? It comes in and out. I don't land the needle and then drag across. No, I come in gently at an angle, sweep the skin, and then come out at an angle as well. So I'm kind of whipping in and whipping out. You know what I mean? Picture what's the best way? So imagine a ball, if you will. You know what I mean? The ball is coming in, bouncing and going out, or bouncing in and bouncing out. You know what I mean? You want to make that contact and then get out. You don't want to come in at a hard angle and then sweep across and then come out. No, because then you'll create lines. So you want to just kind of gently come in and you know, ease into it and then ease out of it. Yay, so we finally have sound. Okay, so here you can actually have a rough idea of how slow the needle's actually hitting. You know what I mean? It doesn't sound like it's going fast. It actually sounds like the machine is dragging on the skin. But I assure you it's not. It's just these skins are so thin, and then there's a hard surface below it, so you're getting that bounce, that sound of the needle bouncing on a hard surface. But I actually have two fake skins behind this, or I have another fake skin below this skin. Now, before I go any further, I'm gonna attack these scales on this finger right here. And since it's a much larger area, this is the way you want to shade. You want to carry your shading out you know, throughout the wider range. This will teach you to shade larger areas. And notice how I'm actually sweeping and then I'm slowly carrying outwards as I'm sweeping, or slowly progressing in the other direction as I'm sweeping, but always going back to the area that has already been swept with the needle, always. This way you can achieve a similar tone, and should you happen to go darker, you're going to blend it into the other part that already has ink. And if when you wipe you notice it's lighter, you can again pass it, give it a second pass, because this is not color packing, which means this technique is a lot easier on the skin. And if you want super smooth shading, you pair a low voltage with a bug pin cartridge, and you will get extremely smooth shading. And if you're looking for the smoothest of the smoothest shading, you go with a short stroke, 3.0, 2.8, 2.5, 2.0. You go with these strokes on a bug pin cartridge, and you will get buttery smooth shading. And here you're going to see that I am actually rubbing the Vaseline on the stencil. This is so that on the tattoos, this is so I can clean off any excess ink that's present on the skin. But mainly it's a habit that I have, that I go in and I apply a thin coat of ointment on the skin or on the tattoo of the client, so that it can soothe it a little bit, you know what I mean? Because you have to understand that the needle is there's an actual needle scratching at somebody's skin, so it's going to be irritated. And if you're using ointments that actually soothe, then you're actually providing some kind of comfort for the client. And here I'm using a dark tone. I think this is black, and I'm just like using very quick strokes to kind of create a whip effect, and that's why it looks much darker. Also, if you notice that the scales on this finger are darker than the scales on the other fingers, you are correct. That's because I was using a medium tone on these scales to show the difference, or to show that it is closer, even though that doesn't make any sense. It makes more sense when you look at it, you know what I mean? The tones don't blend together. Yes, they're kind of in the same area as the other tones, or these scales are going to be in the same tone as the scales in the back, but they're a much darker value. This is going to help differentiate that there's depth in the tattoo. But that doesn't matter here. We're talking about how to shade. Just focus on how the technique is, on what I'm doing on the technique. Focus on how it's being used, and try to practice as I'm going to practice with me, or go with me while I'm tattooing. Now for this, I'm going to kind of time lapse it a little bit. It's only increased by the speed is only increased by 2. So it is somewhat similar. I'd be shading at this speed. Well, this is actually the normal speed that I shade at, but this being a how-to video for beginners, I'm actually slowing down quite a bit. But this is what you're looking at right here. This would be the actual speed that I shade at, and that would mean that my voltage is cranked ever so slightly higher. But the reason I'm time-lapsing this is because I think you have a general idea of how an even tone works, or shading with trying to shade an even tone. Okay, so now we're going to swap for the 3-round liner, and the reason I'm doing a 3-round liner, where I can easily use the mag, or you can easily use the mag, is because the 3-round liner, a liner, when you're trying to use it as a shader, it's going to give you a textured look, And that's what I'm going for. I want a textured look on the actual skin of this foot. I don't want a smooth look. I want a textured look to show that the skin, that this animal uses the skin, you know, that it's rugged, it's rough, all that good jazz. And that's why I'm using the liner. And the liner is running at 5 volts on a 4.0 stroke, and we are using the lightest tone. No, this is actual. This is the medium tone. And you're going to see why my hand speed is super fast with the round liner. It has to be. It has to be fast. Otherwise, the round liner, the direct drives can push a 3-round liner with ease. You have no idea how easily you can push it, and that, you know, in actual practice means that you can damage the skin if you work too slow with a round liner. With these types of machines, with direct drive machines. And another reason why I'm moving so fast is because this machine only goes down to 5 volts. If I could take it down even further, I would be using it even slower for that super textured look. But I can't, and this machine is direct drive, so yeah. If it was eccentric wheel, I'd be going a lot slower. I could slow my hand speed down so you guys could really see what's happening. But I have invested in some macro lenses, and hopefully, you know, that will show how the needle touches the skin, and it'll give you a better understanding of how that works. So stay tuned for that. Again, if you're new and you want to see how close or how much the needle actually goes into the skin, you know, stay tuned, because the macro lens will show that. And you know, I am gonna have a lot of footage like that, and it's gonna be in slow-mo. It's going to give you a better understanding of what's happening. And if you know what's happening, then you know your chances of success of a tattoo with nice shading are higher, because you understand what's happening. You understand what is supposed to be happening. You can better steer your machine, and you know, all that good jazz. It'll just help out a lot, I think. Another thing to keep in mind when you're doing this type of shading with a liner, you want to make sure there's always ink in your needle, plenty of ink, like a lot of ink, because you're moving so fast that the ink flow is crucial, extremely crucial. Like, you know, like just after every single wave of shading that you do as a beginner. If you shade a spot, go ahead and re-dip it for about a second. You know, don't go in there and try to fill up the tube. No, just re-dip every single time you do a little section of shading, because you want to make sure that there's always ink, that there's a lot of ink in your, or not a lot, that there's enough ink in your tube to give you proper ink flow. Okay, and point of entry of a needle does matter. Direction of the needle, of orientation of the needle matters, because point of entry means that wherever the point of entry begins, that's if your hand speed, if your speed is slow, that's where it's going to be the darkest. So, and take into consideration that fact that if you want a certain part of the shade or tone to be darker, you go slower, and then you exit faster. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes too much sense, but yeah, point of entry and point of entry when it comes to shading is important. You don't want to come in. You don't want to hit it like you were trying to do a line, because you will get a line or a darker dot. So you want to be even in your sweeps. You know what I mean? Try to keep a consistent speed. Here I'm going to time lapse it because you can't see what's happening off camera. I totally forgot about the angles, but basically I'm just going in here and doing some kind of like highlights or accents in the scales to show that they have depth. You'll see it later on when you see the entire tattoo. This is not absolutely critical or crucial. This is not something that you're missing out on. It's simply me adding details. You know what I mean? It's not a how. This doesn't really apply to how to shade. It's more of like just me adding details and like making it, giving it depth. Nothing crazy. Okay, so here I'm actually shading or yeah, trying to whip shade extremely fast. The reason I'm doing that, and also I'm not using any kind of pressure, literally the needle is touching the skin. You see that soft gradient that was achieved there. The reason I'm trying to do that is because I'm trying to show that there's a shadow behind, or there's depth behind this piece of tissue curves into behind those scales. So those scales are on top of it. That's the effect that I'm trying to go for right there. So I want to kind of match up the shading to the actual tone of the lines on those scales. This angle kind of sucks, so I'm just gonna time lapse it real quick. It's kind of hard to see what's going on. It's 4:52. I hope you guys appreciate how early it is. I had to wake up before everybody, so I can beat the noise. You know what I mean? My little girl just running around and just being a child. And it's early. I'm tired. I'm sleepy. I hope you guys can appreciate that. If you do, drop a comment saying thanks, bro. We appreciate it. But check this out. So here on this claw, this technique that I'm about to use, this is a stipple technique. Basically, it is you go in, every stroke goes in in the same point of entry, or it doesn't change your direction. I don't sweep back and forth. Yeah, every single stroke is gonna start at the same side and finish at the same side. You know what I mean? So I go up one point of entry, on the point of entry will be the same on every single stroke, and the point of exit will be the same on every single stroke, to achieve a gradient effect as this one. Just something to point out.
And those areas where there's not that much ink on there, like the edges of those claws, normally I would put white into it depending on the skin. If you're fair skinned, I would definitely put white, but if you're brown skin or dark skin, I wouldn't put white because it's just not going to heal white, you know what I mean? Melanin tends to heal darker than white, and it'll just heal right over it. You won't see it, so it's pain for nothing. But yeah, if you are fair skinned, I would usually put a white highlight in there, but I'm not gonna do that on this fake skin because white does not show on these fake skins. Like, you'd have to use a marker or some kind of gel pen over the tattoo without a needle, you know, like literally just a white marker or a white gel pen, and just put the accent in yourself if you want to do that for your Instagram pictures. But I guess you can do that. So if you see all the shading on like the little bubbles on the little bubble muscular parts on that foot, that's the shading that happened off screen. That's the shading that the camera could not pick up because I was too stupid and I was just shading, you know. I just went to town. I totally forgot I was recording and I was just doing my own thing. And this claw here, I'm using a stipple technique, but I am sweeping back and forth because this claw is not as far as the claw in the background. This is closer to us, so I still want to show that it's darkened, but as you can see, I'm taking more time and giving it and following the curves of the claw because I want to show more detail. I want to show I don't want it to look as simple as the other one because this is closer to us. We can in my mind's eye, I'm trying to show that you can see this claw better, so there's more detail. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a bokeh effect, if you will. The finger in the far background, it's kind of hard to see. It's blurry, you know, so it's not that much detail. So you just you know, you hide it with shading. You make it look kind of blurry, so it'll portray that it's in the background. And these two claws in the front, I want to show the most detail possible. So I'm going to take my time and do certain techniques to kind of achieve that. I'm going to time lapse this because it's basically just cleaning the skin. And here, so you saw, you know, those accents I was talking about, those little details, adding depth. You know, you don't have to do this. You can, but you don't have to do this. I'm doing this because I get carried away sometimes, you know what I mean? And normally I would say don't do this so early on in the tattoo, but we are literally almost finished with this tattoo. So this is the time to do these kinds of details, you know, go in there and just add your details, because if you start early on in the tattoo, you're gonna take forever. And you know, you get lost doing all these things. So I like to knock out all the noise first, you know what I mean, like the bigger noises, and then focus in on the little details afterwards. That's how I like to work. I don't like to take too much time in little details in the beginning of the tattoo, because these little details, if you do them too dark, it's like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, if you do them too dark, you kind of screw yourself over, because now you have to do the whole tattoo that much darker. So I like to knock out these little details all the way at the end. And most of the time, if you're doing black and gray, these little details will be one of your darkest tones, maybe 75% black, who knows, maybe even 100, depending on how dark you went, depending on the design. But this is just basically giving these scales some depth. And you'll see, I'm gonna time lapse through that because I don't think it's important, to be honest. I don't think it's something that you need to know on how I'm doing it. You know what I mean? I think it's just something that I'm doing. You really don't have to do it. This is me just trying to like be annoying and please myself while I'm tattooing this. So yeah, I'm gonna time lapse this. All right, here I got started. We're back to the mag, and we're on the medium tone. And basically what I'm doing is I'm creating a frame, if you will. I'm basically just going to kinda not pack, or I'm going to lightly pack some 50% here into this area, just to kind of like show that this is where the tattoo ends. You know what I mean? And if you were to put like a smoke screen or like some kind of background, the background would be black as well, and it would look like this claw is coming out of whatever type of background you're using. And excuse me, as you can see, this is that's basically what's going to happen here. I'm just going to like darken this up a bit, just to make it look like, you know, like this is where it ends, you know what I mean, or this is where it begins. This is the cutoff point for this tattoo. And as you can see, I'm going in the opposite direction now, and I'm kind of swinging the needle at an angle rather than flat, and this is going to create an even darker tone. But yeah, guys, let's see what the result is at the end. Also, I tried to speed up the machine. I set it. I raise it by 1 volt. So now I'm at 6, and you can hear the difference in the machine. But notice the direction or the direction change. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like a cross hatching deal, if you will. If you know what cross hatching is. Cross hatching is, you know, swinging your pencil in one direction and then going in the opposite direction. Excuse me, guys, I think I'm getting sick. But yeah, that's basically what it is. And if you notice how I go slow at the edge of the tattoo, and then when I get further away from that edge, I start to move faster. That's going to give me that gradient effect. Okay, so let's clean this hand jam up and see what it looks like. Yeah, I said hand jam instead of hand job. I don't know. It's early. I'm tired.
Alright YouTube, yes, I know I'm wearing a gray shirt now because I couldn't finish filming the video the same day. I had to do something, an emergency. If you guys followed along, your design should look something like this. Give yourself an applause because you guys did it. Now, if you guys like the video, hit a like. If you guys dislike the video, hit a dislike. Questions or comments, go in the comments as usual. And if you guys are new, consider subscribing because we have more of these videos coming up. That's it. As always, guys, thank you for stopping by, and peace.